Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be talking about Charlie and Olive and them going in their cage. It's like a Conure cage setup video. I'm going to be talking about the assembly of this cage, how we set it up to make it the best possible environment for Charlie and Olive to enjoy, and just generally talking through some of the problems of basically building it, which actually there weren't too many for a change. So before I sort of talk about the setup of the cage, I'm going to be showing you a bit of a run through of actually building the cage. As I said, it wasn't too difficult to get through. There were some little snags of it where it took a little bit longer and you had to sort of reread instructions, but generally everything that was needed to build it was included in the box. It was very easy, and also one thing I want to say is this cage is actually quite inexpensive for its size. It's very big, but it's also quite good. And the other benefit is the tray slides in and out nicely and tightly, so you can have substrate without using bars. Basically, we're quite pleased with it. It's actually on my Amazon store if you want to check it out and maybe purchase one yourself, because basically originally we wanted to get one that Chip and Fish had, which is Liberta, Oregon, and when it arrived we found it had some sort of residue on it, unlike the previous ones. It's an older model and it was also much more difficult to build, so we decided, scrap that, we'll send this Liberta Oregon back, get some money back and get one of these instead, which is a Yahi Tech cage, and we're much more pleased with it. So guys, let's get straight into the building of it. It's going to be a nice little montage sped up so it's not too boring, with some lovely music. Enjoy. So now you see me build the cage. I hope I didn't make it look too difficult, because it actually wasn't too hard. It was just mostly me and Sophie helping out a little bit. But now we talked through that, let's talk about how we set it up and why we set it up the way we did. Because I think, again, it's useful to consider various individual tastes when you're setting up your Conure's cage, and making sure that you utilise the whole space and make it as easy to navigate as possible. So I'm going to talk through the cage, show you all the bits inside it, and hopefully give you some inspiration for your own. So let's take you on a tour of Olive and Charlie's cage. Let's do a little overview quickly now. As you can see, we've got a nice storage shelf underneath. That actually comes with the cage. It wasn't custom made or anything, it just comes with it. 2 doors. I'll see if I can get some dimensions on the video for you, at least in the description, so you can all see it there. So let's start with the top of Olive and Charlie's cage. We'll zoom in here and we'll take you around of a tour. We put the most effort into the top because we thought that's where they're going to spend most of their time. They're not used to a cage like this, and we want them to be as comfortable as possible. Although we have noticed they go to the floor quite a lot, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, let's start at the top. So at the front, we have our 2 sets of bowls, food and water, 1 per bird. So we make sure that, you know, everything's duplicated, so there's no squabbling. And then we have a lovely custom-made perch by the Natural Bird Product Company. Very useful, very lovely, loads of textures, and we find that they really enjoy it running up and down it. We used to have a couple of perches in the interim up here, but they much prefer this. It makes it quite easy to get them in the cage as well. We also have lots of perches up top. This is to give them, let me move this toy out of the way, give them lots of sleeping options, easy ways to hop and manoeuvre, because conures do love to hop around. They do love to explore, they do love to climb. So having these perches gives them sleeping options, also gives them lots of textures, gets them exercising, gets them hopping and generally enjoying themselves. So on the right side we have one of Olive's old favourite toys. It's basically little wooden stars and a bit of leather string for them to chew at. We put up, well, I'll talk a bit about barriers in my Patreon video, but we put up a seagrass mat here, and that is so basically they have a bit of privacy. We find having a seagrass mat is really useful for a bit of privacy because they're right next to Louie and Kipling. Louie and Kipling right next to them. We don't want them squabbling. We want them to feel like they have their own space. So we gave Louie and Kipling one, we gave Olive and Charlie one, and we found they're very good. On top of that, they love chewing it and climbing on it, so it just serves a dual purpose. Talk a little bit about it on Patreon in more detail, but yeah, if you're on Patreon, go and explore that video too. Also on top we have a balsa heart, which has loads of easily chewable balsa bits. We have loads of like yucca, more balsa, it's basically stuff that's easily chewable for them and lots of fun. The back, another one of Olive's favourites. And then as we go down a little bit, we have again some loofah material, other easy chewable, and we have a buoying, one of Charlie's favourite toys, which is a paper sort of roll. The buoying's a bit dirty, apologies. And then the buoying is basically there to give them some movement up and down, and we'll start looking at the immediate. The buoying is basically there to give them some movement up and down and make the cage easier to navigate, which leads us on to the middle of the cage. So let me just open this door. On the middle section, we basically have the buoying, we have some more toys, we have a sort of a semi-platform, natural sort of wood perch, which they love to sit on and chew on, and a very big sort of middle perch to give them that mobility and just somewhere to stop on, so they can have options on every single level. Sophie does do sort of custom made, homemade ones, these paper cup toys, but this is one we actually bought. Loads of things to chew, loads of things to shred, and yeah, lots of fun. So we'll follow the buoying down to the bottom. And at the bottom you may see it's quite sparse down here. We deliberately didn't put too many toys because we didn't think they'll be down here very much, although we are finding they are exploring it a bit, so we may add some more. Don't be afraid to adapt and change things around. The bottom of the buoying, some perches, a nice long perch for them to run up and down, another natural wood toy, and also we've got a little door perch which we call a peaking perch. We highly recommend them because it makes it easier to get birds in and out and lots of fun, although Olive and Charlie don't have that problem. And what we call a foraging bowl or toy box. Louie and Kipling have one of these, so we took some inspiration from their cage. And basically it's just a food bowl or a little tray or whatever filled with toys, so the conures can pick at it, throw it out, maybe look at some treats in there if we decide to put them, and generally have fun. Louie absolutely loves doing it. Charlie's been down here a few times already, as you can see from the damage, and also the bit of raspberry that we gave them earlier in there, which has to be cleaned up. But yeah, they really enjoy it. Finally, we have the bottom, which is obviously substrate. Another thing we like about this cage in particular is the sort of like bottom tray. It fits very snugly against the bottom of the cage. You can see there's literally zero gap there. So even if you don't have bars, no issue with gaps, unlike the other cages, and it's just really good. And they've basically been encouraging each other to explore the substrate. You know, we thought they'd be very hesitant to go down here, but they've both been down, they've been running around, exploring it, throwing it around, and we love substrate. You can sort of learn more about it if you haven't seen it in previous videos on my channel by searching substrate. It's really good. So let's pan out again so you can see the whole thing. Really nice cage, really love it, and generally very pleased with how they're getting on inside it too. So both the birds are really enjoying this cage. We're really happy about how much they love it and how quickly they've adapted to going in it. Their bonding experience has been kind of a roller coaster, and it's been very pleasant. It doesn't always go so well, so be prepared for that bonding and caging birds together. But yeah, so remember, this cage is on our Amazon, both our Amazon stores actually, both me and Sophie's. Do check it out. We would recommend it actually at this point because it's pretty good for the money and it's really, really spacious. But in the meantime, from me and a very happy Charlie and Olive, take care and have a really nice day.